we do a serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
Speaking of things that we can do, I might as well just roll back into this because I've been recording anyway. So it's a slow week. You might hear all of that. Who knows? But welcome back to Living Legends podcast. I don't know who the host is today, but I'm just going to kick it off anyway because it's going to be a fairly slow one. I guess I can take the reins here. But yeah, speaking of travelling, I just thought, yeah, I'm going to be travelling quite soon. So I'm in the process of Japan packing right now. So yeah, when we're speaking about travelling, I just sort of thought, oh yeah, we can sort of roll this into the actual podcast because that's something that I'm doing is I'm packing for Japan now because I'm going to be going this time next week. Actually, when we record a podcast for you guys, it will be the same time, but for me, it will be 8 a.m. in the morning in Osaka. So if we are still recording, which I imagine we will be, I'll be up bright and early for my Wednesday in the morning, coming at you live from Osaka, Japan, like we did when coming at you live from Barcelona last time as well. So I'll be up bright and early with coffee this time rather than it's 11 o'clock here. So going to be a very large disparity when I record the podcast next time with you guys. But yeah,
I will say I noticed in Japan a lot of places actually don't open until like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. If you wake up early and you look out, it's just like there's no one out there, which is kind of wild. I mean, obviously the Konbini or whatever will be open, but most places will not, which I found pretty interesting because it's like a weird, I don't know, maybe it's not weird, but it's just like a thing here in the United States where a lot of places open at like 6 or 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have like your coffee shops and it's just a very common thing here, but it's just a cultural difference, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the things that I do is on maybe morning or night or maybe a mixture of two. I'm going to actively go out when it's either really late or really early just to sort of take in the ambience of just nothing happening, basically. Just going to be taking
be really serene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I recommend it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, joined by the podcast co-hosts, of course. We got Bill. How's it going, mate, first of all? You're going and traveling soon as well?
Pretty good. Yeah. I'm going to be going to MagicCon Las Vegas. When this video drops, I will be leaving tomorrow. I'm pretty excited for it. We're just going to go as the Spike Feeders and go enjoy our time. It's funny because the first Magic event that we went to as the Spike Feeders was also Vegas, and it was 5 years ago.
Nice.
So nice. It's like a little bit longer than 5 years, so it's not like a perfect anniversary. I think the Vegas 2019 was in August, which was much worse for weather purposes. At least as a Canadian, it was much worse.
Yeah. What is this heat?
But yeah, oh my God. So, but yeah, I'm excited to go back and potentially meet up with some new people. Definitely see some old friends that I've gotten some really fun memories with over the last few MagicCons that I've been to. So, if anybody listening is going to be there, come find me and say hi. And I'd love to chat about whatever. Obviously, we'll be at a Magic convention, but you can still ask me about Fab. That's totally fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure there's some folks out there who play multiple games, and Magic is, well, definitely probably one of them. Well, for some people, statistically speaking, I imagine.
I think a lot of people.
Yeah, when people like something, they usually like a second thing too.
Exactly, especially with the audience that we've procured. I think a lot of people have the sort of open mind to enjoy lots of different things all at once. I mean, we got Kel who likes everything basically, all the card games.
I just love TCGs. Yeah, I don't discriminate. There's some that have less interest for me, especially ones that are like super IP focused. And if I don't really have any interest in the IP, which is usually the case, then I'm not super interested in it. I definitely prefer unique settings and worlds and stories more than, the 14th Dragon Ball game. But
gotcha.
I'm down to try them. I'm down to try them all out. I actually just posted a poll on my community Discord about like some games that I've never covered before that gauging community interest. Some of them that we've actually kind of joked around with here on the podcast before, like Lorcana. So, but I went and got to the point where I was looking on TCG Player, and I noticed that the starter decks are really cheap now. You can get like two for like $15, and I'm like, that's a pretty good price for me to just to check it out. So, we'll see. We'll see what people want. So anyway, yes, I like card games, and I'm Kel. Hello.
Nice. And yeah, I mean, today's podcast is not going to be too sort of long-winded. There isn't much going on in the world of Flesh and Blood. I've created like a tiny little docket that we're going to loosely follow that the guys can't see here. But one of the main things that's happened this week, for me at least, is I streamed Proquest this week. Over the weekend, which was pretty cool. So there was quite a lot of heroes there, but Riptide managed to win, which is interesting.
Nice.
So
that's spicy.
Yeah.
Based Riptide win.
Yeah. So out of all the heroes that are being popular at the moment, like Aurora and Viserai and Rune Blades, and Dash IO is another one which we can get onto, which with a small little thread that I've also got on here. But yeah, Riptide managed to get a win with a stream that I was sort of covering, and one of the cards that really shined during that game, and another sort of controversy of that weekend was a card called Plan for the Worst. Do you remember this one? Do you remember what this one does off the top of your head, audience and you guys?
That's the one that you search your deck for 3 traps, and then you shuffle 2 cards from your hand back or something similar.
I think this is the one I gave. I like sold you, right? I sold you some Riptide stuff, and I sold you like 3 of them in a foil or something.
So that card is called Reelin. That's the one you gave me as part of the Riptide package. That's the one that you sent me. So Plan for the Worst is a different card, which was printed in Rosetta. Was it Rosetta? Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
no shot, no idea then.
No shot. So I'm going to get the card up on the screen today because I'm actually prepared this time. So yeah, you're going to see Plan for the Worst on screen right now. Our faces aren't there, but the card is. But for audio listeners, you don't have a clue anyway, so it's all good. You're listening to our voices. So yeah, this is a 0-cost Ranger action. Blocks for 3. It's a blue pitch. Look at target hero's hand and arsenal. So you get all the information up front from what they've got in their hand and arsenal. At the beginning of their next end phase, they discard all cards in their hand and destroy all cards in their arsenal. So seek and destroy effect on the card.
Okay, I remember this. Yeah, I do remember this.
And then search your deck for up to 3 traps, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle 2 cards from your hand into your deck. So yeah, this card was absolutely awesome towards the end game, but this is a really, really interesting thing as well. The Seek and Destroy trigger was missed right at the end of the game. So the opposing player who was under this effect did not destroy their arsenal. So there was a judge call in the final of this game. So
yeah,
it was a tough decision to make, and I don't even remember what happened, because it was everything was happened all at once, and we weren't allowed to commentate on it because it was quite a small room. We couldn't interfere, we couldn't commentate because the players playing the final would hear us. So we just had to leave the stream running with the table audio on it. So Chris, who was our judge, was sorting it out. But yeah, a lot of people in the chat and a lot of people afterwards in the comment section were saying that the player who was supposed to destroy their hand and arsenal was allowed to play with that arsenal still. So I think because the arsenal should have been destroyed, that the judge call should have been, okay, just take away that card from your arsenal. That's probably what should have happened. But yeah, it was a fantastic game, and it's good to see that sort of card come into effect, because it's one of those ones that we haven't really seen yet. So to be able to see that sort of effect happen and really influence the game and get those traps out was awesome. But yeah, Riptide in this particular sort of meta game at the moment could be quite good, just to sort of defend and get so much value out of your defensive cards, but also doing a different thing every time you defend could be quite good into a lot of the stuff that's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's one of those things, like Flesh and Blood is a kind of game, since it doesn't technically rotate, but I guess you can argue that it kind of does. In that there's gonna be heroes that just kind of like come out of nowhere,
Yeah.
seemingly, and kind of disrupt things. A lot of people will be hyper focused on whatever the newest thing is, and to be fair, Flesh and Blood tends to print really powerful stuff in their new sets, and that they have a history of making meta defining heroes every new set.
Do you reckon they?
So,
Do you reckon they?
I don't know.
Do you reckon they design with that sort of mindset in mind? Then do you think they think, okay, in Rosetta we're going to print this hero which is very, very pushed, which will sculpt the meta game or the actual gameplay around that one new spanking hero?
I think they have an idea for sure, because I've heard the devs comment on it, like they're like, oh, we expect the impact of this set to be similar to the impact of heavy hitters or whatever, which means that they have an idea of roughly the same, the power level that they expect it to be. Whereas, like, I'm pretty sure they expected Mistveil to be really, really strong, and they expected Rosetta to be about the same as heavy hitters, right? So, which tells me that they expect maybe one or two heroes to be outliers, like good ones, meta defining heroes, and then maybe the other ones fill in later.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to designing cards anyway, a pretty healthy way to approach them is not to necessarily make every hero like insanely strong. Like, I don't think they go into a set being like, we are going to push everything. But I also think that it's healthy for the game for them to say, like, we're gonna print this hero that, as the card pool is right now, or as the meta is right now, that this is going to either like interact really favorably against the popular strategies or with the popular strategies. So I think that it is extremely likely that they'll go into a set being like, we are going to make one hero at least that is going to be very good. Sometimes they miss the mark with it, because like with Mistveil, which is the most recent example of this, all of the heroes are very good. I do think that Zen specifically was overtuned, but then also they were all strong, not because they were necessarily all designed that way, but because they were based on transcending. And like Chi and transcending was just, I think, a lot better than they were expecting. So, like all three of the heroes from Part the Mistveil ended up being extremely good, but it isn't, I think, because they were specifically designed to be that power level. They just sort of misjudged how strong Chi would be.
And it's just Zen in particular was just. He had a great hero ability, but I think in a vacuum, LSS were testing it in the way that you were building your deck for the league, which people may or may not have seen at this point. But Zen was just cracked from the off because of things like the old cards that were existing, like Art of War and Bonds. They didn't come in Mistveil, did they? They were just Zen was just cracked from the off because of the old cards. So, I mean, it's weird that they maybe missed that mark because of the older cards that exist when they were just testing in a vacuum with the Tiger-based things. But yeah, it is cool to see that if that is the case, they can just introduce a hero that can potentially change the way the whole competitive aspect is being played, which I guess you could do.
Yeah. I mean, as a company, they're directly incentivized to make powerful and exciting cards because that's what gets them to sell product, and that's what keeps people excited. It's like this balancing act, quite literally, in like designing really powerful stuff and then like also not breaking your game and making other things obsolete. And each game kind of like approaches this in different ways.
It's hard.
Flesh and Blood is interesting because it's really hero centric, even though it's technically like a class based system, like a class and talent based system. It kind of, at least at this point in Flesh and Blood, is more falls on a hero to hero basis, right, rather than like on a class basis. Because previously, like, I'll use Ranger for example, because we're talking about Riptide today. When you said like, oh, Ranger's really good, for a long time that meant Lexi. Lexi's good, right? Zelia was not good. Riptide didn't exist. It just meant Lexi was good. And then now, after Lexi LL'd, it was if you talk about Ranger at all, it's Azalea, right? Azalea is now good. So like, it feels like until we get like a really, really expanded suite of heroes where the classes and the talents matter a little bit more. And what I mean by that is that like you don't have a lot of options if you're playing like Shadow Brute, for example, right? You have like your option. You have Levia. You don't have a lot of differentiation between them. But once you do have options in a select card pool, that's where I think we can start getting a little more interesting. And that's where I think a lot of the cool balance can actually finally come into play. So yeah, and also like speaking about Riptide specifically, it's this thing that we mentioned a couple times on the podcast before that happened with Bolton, but I mean they just keep printing cards for him like directly. Like we just need to make him not suck. So we're just gonna keep printing cards for him until he's good. And I don't know, maybe they've reached it with Rosetta, but
the thing is as well, I think decks like that are just decks like Riptide is just it was a fatigue Riptide deck that he brought to the event, and our event there was 20 players, and the things that Riptide want to avoid are illusionists, and there was only one illusionist in the entire field, so it is part of that part of the gem luck, people say, isn't it? Is your matchups matter to a certain degree, where if you draw into if you're a guardian and you draw into a illusionist as well, similar situation, you're just like, oh, for goodness sake, I might as well just pack up now and not play. But but obviously seeing the sort of the pie chart, which I'm going to flash up now on the screen as well, like the Proquest London week 3 is what I'm looking at the moment. A lot of the heroes in there are just straight up aggro, like Aurora, Dash.io, which is a new hero which would have been represented this week quite a lot because of the new deck, which we'll go into in a moment, some of the new cards for that. Azalea could also be classed as aggro as well, potentially. Viserai, Florian's more sort of mid-rangey. But yeah, Riptide can work in really well into those sort of aggro decks. He can block really, really well, and then every time he blocks, basically you get an effect which then devalues your opponent's turn. So all the numbers that you're getting are proactive numbers as well, because you're just defending and saving your life total. So I think he's really, really good at the moment, and it could just be that he drew into no illusionists that weekend, but seeing it live was just awesome to witness. After I played a little bit of it, a little bit of it in the league as well, I actually really, really enjoyed it. Riptide, and it was just a pile of cards, which is great when you want to try and wear out your opponent. That's just good strategy to have, right? But don't do bloody count your blessings garbage. Don't do that. That's horrible. But yeah, speaking of powerful cards, a Dash.io deck was also released recently. So that should be on shelves now, although apparently a lot of the UK, the South UK, haven't been able to get it yet. So I'm not sure what the distribution's like everywhere else, but have you seen it in stores, Dash.io, where you guys are from?
I mean, not physically, because I haven't been to an LGS in a little while, but I've seen a lot of people posting about it from the US. So yeah, it sounds like it's available-ish from what I've seen. I can't really speak to it personally though. Yeah, but we haven't really been getting it. But that's just a UK thing, I think, because Brexit, and we just don't exist apparently. But there we go. I mean, you did Brexit a little bit.
It's our own fault, I guess. But
I'm trying to see if my LGS has their.
Brexit's one of those things. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say they went through a change to their website that took a lot longer than they were anticipating. They swapped website providers, so I haven't checked their website in a long time. It doesn't look like they have it, but they might in store. I hope we're not having the same issues. That would suck.
Yeah, but yeah, everyone.
Let me check.
Everyone's wanting to get it for this card, which is now flashing up on screen, called Cerebellum Processor. This is the card that a lot of people want to get hold of out of this Dash.io deck.
Crazy.
Why is this card crazy, Bill?
It reads 0, draw a card.
That's right.
Pretty good.
It reads 0, draw a card in a hero that can print action points.
Pretty much.
Like, I understand that because I'm pretty sure it says once per turn action, right? Like you can't do, but you could have 3 of these in play, use 3 of your many action points to draw 3 cards, and then continue with your turn, like meeting up with Tobias Bone, etc. But cards just nuts. You can get it into play basically for free with Dash's ability. Like on your opponent's turn. It's nuts. This card, every single thing, every single talking point that I've seen with respect to this card is just that, like, it maybe shouldn't have been printed, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It doesn't make frostbites, so I guess people don't care that much.
Not yet.
So,
not yet.
Not yet.
Ice
just-
mechanologist.
from a non-local level, but a TCG industry, I guess from a Western perspective, it looks like it's very available. On TCG Player, there's many listings at $45, like 44 and some change seems to be the current market price for it. So like $44.68 with free shipping is pretty standard looks like. So looks like you can get it if you want it. You can get it pretty close to that MSRP price. That's redundant.
That's
MSRP.
nice.
Manufactured
nice.
retail price.
Oh, just the UK then. Brilliant. Cool.
As always.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the UK, you can, I guess, import it for an extra $20 if you really want it. I don't actually know about Card Market if they have it. Look, Card Market. See if Card Market has it.
We're checking it live, folks. But I'm gonna pick up some products in Japan for sure. I'm gonna try and get some cool things from there. I think it was it Jasada Suthi, I think, did the art for the Judge, Jury, Executioner. So I've got the map for that. So I'm gonna try and get that signed while I'm there as well. I think. I don't know why I was thinking of Japan products, Japan getting stuff done, but I'm just excited to go over there. But yeah, go.
All right, so
sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just going to go back to the Dash deck, but yeah, it's It's quite a popular deck at the moment. There was 3 Dashios being played this weekend in the Proquest, and it was Dash versus Riptide in the final, and that was the one where Riptide fatigued the Dash out towards the end, and Dash didn't have any cards left. I think so. So I think Dash is pretty cool. She has a lot of things going for her, but she is easily fatigable if you do have that sort of deck, because she boosts and stuff. She's very, very consistent. Probably one of the most consistent aggro decks out there because of this as well. And this card can be fetched by off the top of your deck just by looking, because Dashio's obviously got that look at the top of your deck ability. You've also got things like Spark of Genius, which basically your Spark of Genius can actually present itself as a Cerebellum Processor, because you can just be like, yeah, I'll go tutor for that. So you've got more copies of the card in your deck. Similar to how Codex works with things in your graveyard. You can basically counter Codex as a duplicate of the card you're in your graveyard. So that's the argument at the moment as to why Dash could be better than the other aggro decks like Aurora, for instance, because she can go and get her power cards quicker or easier than Aurora can.
All right. Okay, so if you'd like some stats, I have some information regarding the Armory Decks.
Oh.
So the Armory Decks, at least in terms of Europe, seem to be a little bit more available. So on Card Market, I found listings. There's a whole bunch of listings. However, none of them are from the UK. So there's like a listing for 34 euros, or it's about 35 euros from Spain. I don't know the shipping, by the way, like the price of shipping between like Spain and the UK, for example. I don't know how expensive that is.
All right. Yeah, I don't think it's too bad.
But there's some in Spain, Greece, Latvia, Romania, Poland, France, Germany, Spain again, Belgium. So there's a bunch of listings that have a bunch of stuff. And the price looks like it's ranging between 35 euro to about 40 euros. So if you're in Europe, you can get it. There's literally no listings from the UK though. So
no,
rip
we just don't have anything whatsoever. We just don't have anything.
And then it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, I'm curious about the availability of all the other ones in the US. And so I just looked up the Armory Decks in general on TCG Player, and It may or may not surprise you. So here's what I made a sound earlier. I was like, oh, this is why. So I'll just go in order. I think it was KO, Azalea, then Bolton, right? I think that was the order.
Yeah. No, KO, Bolton.
So the KO,
I think.
KO Bolton. Okay. So the KO deck is still expensive. It's about $60. There's only 3 available, and it's like the lowest price is about $60, like $58.99.
That's the price of an Origins deck. Oh my god. Oh no.
Well, we're gonna
maybe it's 70.
We're gonna get to that. It's more expensive than that. The Origins deck is not $60 on TCG Player pre-orders. It's a bit more than that. The Azalea deck there's 11 listings with let me just double check. Yeah, the lowest market value, the lowest price is $52 for the Azalea deck. Then we have the Bolton deck. Poor Bolton. I don't know what's with Bolton, but dude can't catch a break. There's a bunch of Bolton decks available, and the cheapest one is $30.
Oh,
so
wow.
$10 lower than the MSRP. But if you want to, that's great. If you want to play Bolton, he's only $30. If you want to play KO, you're going to be playing twice as much.
Yeah, I would argue as well that if you do want to play Bolton, you need that deck, I think, because all those cards that he got in there were very, very good.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend getting those.
The KO deck is rougher than I thought. It's actually, so it was $58.99, but that wasn't factoring the shipping. The shipping's $10 on that, and so it's closer to $70 minimum for the KO deck. Yeah, $68.99 with shipping. So there's that, and then that leads me to, because we already talked about the Dash deck, which is pre-selling at $44 shipped, or it's currently available at $44 shipped, which is not too bad considering the MSRP of the product. The Jarl deck, the Jarl Vitrethidi deck. I'm just gonna mix them. There's only one available for pre-order, and it's $80.
All right.
Yeah.
It's only one available for pre-order.
Like,
16
that's
have
like
sold.
around what they advertised it at, right? Though, like
60 they advertised.
69.
okay.
69. Was it 69.99? That's a great number, by the way.
It's $59.99.
Oh, was
It's
it?
$59.99.
Yeah.
But it has been selling. So here's a little bit of data for people who like some data.
Data.
So when you look at the
Trek.
3-month,
Anyway.
yes, when you look at the 3-month snapshot, you can see that most of them have sold at $69.95. So most of them have sold about at $10 more than the MSRP. So most of them have sold about $70, and there are 16 of them sold currently on TCG Player. So like 16 pre-orders have gone out. It seems like all the ones that weren't like $80 probably sold, and well, that's where that is.
Yeah. Armory Decks are a funny thing, aren't they? But we had quite a lot of comments. We had quite a lot of comments on the price of the Armory Decks last week on the last video. But a couple of comments from last week. This episode's all over the place, but hey ho, it's just one of those weeks. Sean Fickett,
one of those weeks.
It's one of those weeks. So Sean Fickett says, give Katsu a specialization that is a new Bonds of Ancestry with the same effects, but as an on hit. So that's an interesting comment, because Katsu is definitely owed something now, because ninjas in general, right, are owed something now after what happened to the Art of War. That was one of their only things, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Katsu just never gets.
What do you think?
He's never like in the spotlight. It's like he's like always the second ninja, because like we've had other busted ninjas. We had Fi. Do people remember how like nutso Fi was with like stubby hammers and stuff? Like Fi was cracked for a while. Now no one plays him, but like it feels like every ninja except for Katsu has been like insane. I guess you could maybe argue that if you're a Katsu diehard and you're like, there's this one time he was really good, but I mean, overall, in the grand scheme of things,
Katsu has on hits. So if you run him as an aggro deck, you have the inherent, if this hits, they can go and get something else. So it'd be interesting to know what Katsu players or what ninja players would want to have as to make Katsu good, because in a meta which is all about aggro and I'm just going to outrace you, I'm not going to block anyway, having an on hit attached to your hero could be quite good if you've got the right combo card to combo it with. So I don't know there's a question to the audience, what sort of Katsu card would you want to see obviously this person wants a new Bonds of Ancestry with the same effect as an on-hit. But what would you want?
Yeah, so I think having a specialization would be really smart. Well, actually, not just that. I think it'd be the only way to do it, because when you think about Ninja as a whole and the ninjas that have been cracked, the ninjas that are cracked because of their talent, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not because of just the overall ninja pool, because if it was the overall ninja pool, then Katsu would be also cracked.
Yeah.
It's because of their talented cards. But the problem is if you print just more generically good ninja cards, then heroes like Fi are going to be getting a benefit of it, and they're just going to be insane. So I think making it like a Katsu specialization specifically is kind of the way to go. Yeah.
And
you get your break.
That's a good design space for them to have, is named heroes, which is obviously why we all played the game, and we can all identify with certain heroes or play styles or whatever. But having this is gated to Lexi or this is gated to Azalea, having that differentiating thing between the rangers is a great way to do it. But yeah, I wouldn't know how you fix Katsu at this point, because all the other ninjas just do it better or have a wider card pool, because he is just a ninja, doesn't get any mystic, doesn't get any draconic, just ninja, plain old ninja. And he can visit the flying dojo, but that's not good enough, unfortunately.
I'm sure they have a good tea there.
You played
sucks,
Katsu, haven't you, Bill? I think. Have you?
I have. I have always thought, like, before, I think it was before Fi came out, I always thought that there was something to Katsu. Like, I just felt like the deck was really cool. It was interesting, and it was, like, strong, but not in an obvious way. And that was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it's unfortunate that, like, Bonds of Ancestry in Katsu is, I might even say, a fair card, because you're not using it to get anything really all that good. Like, you can threaten dishonor, and like that is the most impactful thing that you can do with Bonds of Ancestry and Katsu. The issue is when you're searching up better and more efficient attacks than what Katsu has access to, all of the talented ninja attacks. So I think, I don't know if this is going to sound crazy. I think if they either printed a new version of Bonds of Ancestry or errated it so that it's just a Katsu specialization, but he can run it in as many colors as he wants, I don't think that's that bad. I think that's like fine. So yeah, like, I don't know. It does kind of suck that like he had one good thing that wasn't even that good with him specifically, because his card pool is kind of like bad. And then they still took it away for the sins of other ninjas.
Yeah, and here's the real kicker for all you ninja fans out there. We've had frequent ninja sets. Like, we literally just had one with Mistveil, and then like 2 sets before that with Outsiders. So like, I don't think we're getting a ninja set for a while. I think if you're gonna get some Katsu support, it's got to be one of these, like, you know, expansion slot cards designed specifically for him.
Yeah. I just think there needs to be,
or a deck. I guess you can have a deck, you know, an armory deck or whatever. I guess is a new thing that they can do.
Yeah, I just think there needs to be a new ninja design space explored, because at the moment it's just go wide. I think there needs to be something more interesting in there, because combos are cool, but they're not necessarily millions of attacks. You know, you got 100 E Honda style stuff, which is hundreds of attacks, like 1-1-1-1-1-1-1 sort of style stuff. But ninjas
that's been Ninja's identity since the start, basically.
It has, yeah. That's just the go wide class from the very start. Was Ninja. That was a go wide class. But maybe it needs to do something else, because now you've got Lightning Runeblade, which is just like the Flash, which can just hit you quicker and faster than anything else. Like, how does a normal ninja fight something that can move at the speed of lightning?
Yeah.
I'll go play like 5 Ninja Gaiden games and get back to you on that.
Yeah.
The thing that just sort of sucks from a comparison standpoint, and obviously you can't really compare classes or cards 1-to-1 like this, but comparing how good it felt at the time to be like, oh, cool, I have my opponent in Kodachi lock, so this one blue rips 2 cards from their hand, is super cool and everything. But then you read the card gone in a flash.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like the
Well,
card that
I
can
mean-
threaten 12 damage on its own in a turn, like multiple turns in a row.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
people
just
are
kinda tough
like
out here.
dunk on like old Flesh and Blood design like Art of War, and they're like they can point to it and be like, look at this card, it's like busted. But then they keep printing cards like Gone in a Flash as well, and you're like, well,
They keep
I don't
printing
know.
it.
I don't know if the design philosophy has changed all that much. I just don't like drawing cards now. They don't let you to draw cards now.
Yeah.
You just have the same
Which
card
is like,
over and over.
yeah, I don't like. I do think that their card design has gotten stronger on average. I think that's pretty plain to see as well. There are more and more cases of cards being, pretty warping, and it's not even necessarily that they keep printing like busted legendaries. They do keep printing very good legendaries, but it's like it's not just the legendaries, it's not just the majestics. They had to basically errata and then still ban a rare.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Like,
Yeah.
like it's not necessarily that they are pushing any one part of the game. I think they're pushing the entire game, which is not a bad thing. That is, again, like I think that that's an inherent part of just as a game evolves, you need to do more interesting things to keep people hooked, and that's totally fine. So it's not that I have an issue with Gone in a Flash or whatever, but I do think at this stage, like we've kind of been saying for the last little bit, that Katsu has kind of been left behind. All of the talented ninjas got to use his tools better than he got to use them, and now they're gone. So now not only is he still in a worse position, he doesn't even have the stuff that made him good in the first place.
Yeah.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something like that's really going to get on Katsu players' nerves? Ira's just going to come out and be way better than Katsu.
Yeah.
It is
like instantly way better.
1 blue Kodachi for 1 into Command and Conquer for 7 is an insanely good play pattern.
Yeah.
It's insanely good.
Yep.
It would not surprise me to see Ira immediately overtake Katsu's. If he even has any win percentage right now, I am so sorry. I am one of you Katsu players. I want him to be good so bad, but the numbers aren't there.
I can't wait to play
Ira has
Ira.
numbers. It's +1.
It's
pretty
plus
good.
1.
I can't wait to play Ira. The new hero,
Oh yeah,
anyway.
I think CC Ira is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
I have my my play set of foil Command and Conquers ready to go
Yeah.
to 7 people.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It was really fun. It was really fun watching it on the live stream. It was just like, yeah, this is an ninja I can get behind. Does a little bit of everything. It's nice and simple to play as well.
It's really fun. Like I mentioned before, I played a ton of Ira back when she was still legal in Blitz. But I will say there's a reason that she LL'd pretty quickly in Blitz. She's very, very good. And that's going to transition into CC. Yeah, she's very good.
Yeah.
I expect her to be pretty strong. I don't know if she's going to be like the best, but I expect Ira to be like a pretty solid deck just all around.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it fares, because at the moment the top heroes, there is like a triangle forming at the moment with regards to the heroes that are popular or being played. So the aggro deck is Aurora. That's the aggro deck right now. The I would say control deck is Enigma. Would you class Illusionist or Enigma as a control deck? Warding things away?
Probably.
Yeah. And then the mid-range deck is Florian, which is the Earth Runeblade, which is that seems to be the out of the pie chart, which is flashing up on screen now for you, which I've already prepared. That is what the ProQuest Week 3 looks like, as the 3 most represented heroes are Aurora Aggro, Aurora Aggro, Enigma as the quote-unquote control deck, and then Florian as the mid-range deck. So that is the slight. Where was I going with this? Ira. How does Ira fit into that? Ira can throw in go ham, she can go face, but she can also throw in interactive attacks with breakpoints, which is also quite good. And she can also act as a mid-range deck, so she does a little bit of everything. But as a result of doing a little bit of everything, does that make the hero worse? Because there is no real... Yeah.
I think it makes her really strong because you can pivot based on what your opponent's doing. And in a game where you have... it's really matchup dependent. I think being able to pivot is very good. So if you're like, depending on your opponent, like you can pivot into a more mid-rangey strategy, or you can, if you can go full aggro if you need to.
Yeah.
You can probably even build her like fatigue if you want, but yeah.
Well, she's got the Katsu,
I think
actually, so
super good. Yeah.
I don't know whether Edge of Autumn is even playable because that's her signature weapon, isn't it? I think.
No. Yeah, no. You're playing Kodachis. There's even argument whether or not her specialization's even playable. I like it and I played it a lot, but it's one of those things where it's just the card just reads, block me with, anything really. Yeah. We'll see. I'm
just reading Edge of Autumn for like the first time in a while. So it just attacks for 1. You pay 1, attack, go again.
Yeah.
So
it's like a Kodachi, but you only get one of them.
Two-handed.
You only get one.
Kodachi. Yeah.
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 The thing is, it always has go again.
Yeah.
Which is, I think something that's very funny is that in my review of all of the sets since like Everfest, I feel like there's at least been one card in every set that has ninja or ninja adjacent cards that I've said, hey, this is good for Kodachis. So like the fact that there's such an overload, a critical mass of cards that make Kodachi really good, having one singular Kodachi that has go again constantly is just the value is not there. It's a cool card, though. There's also a fun piece of trivia about it. In the original Ira Welcome decks, it was printed with a legendary border because they thought that that's what they wanted to do with all equipment. They wanted all equipment to have that gold border.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was specifically for stuff that started in play. They were like, hey, we want it to look really fancy. But then they came up with cold foiling, I think, instead was the reasoning.
Oh. We learn something new every day.
Fun fact.
Cards good with Kodachis, like Warmonger's Diplomacy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Warmongers?
I don't like it, and it's not very nice. That's another thing as well.
It's a little rude, I guess.
That's another thing that Dash.io has, or Dash in general has, another card similar to that called Signal Jammer, which is another one which also throws a spanner in the works of the Azalea players out there at the moment, because that one limits you to playing only one non-action card each turn. So it just means that you can only really shoot an arrow for 7 or 8, depending on what the arrow is. So that can really stunt Azalea players as well, Signal Jammer. So it's not nice to see that being played either. But yeah, just going back to the comments for a little bit here before we wrap up this episode. It's going to be I've filmed like a little bit at the start as well, so we'll see. But JD Gaming says Jarl has got me wanting to jump into Classic Constructed. So this is another sort of good sort of reasoning and jumping on point for Armory Decks in general, is just giving people the option to just buy a deck to play straight away with at their Armory or at a CC tournament or CC format. So that's good to know. Jarl is looking quite interesting. We covered it slightly on the last episode with the cards that have been released so far, but we're still yet to see the deck list. But I think you'll enjoy CC, Jarl. Not Jarl, JD Gaming, I should say.
Yeah.
Maybe your name is Jarl,
perhaps,
that's why it's JD Gaming. Jarl D Gaming, there we go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Jarl D Gaming.
Jarl D Gaming.
Jarl D Luffy.
Absolutely. And then Speaking of Jarl, Tam Kablam as well, of one of our favourite commenters, saying, "I bust out laughing when you mentioned my embarrassing Armory experience." I forgot. I forgot that I commented that. And yes, my husband, you are correct. So this was you remembering this last week, Kel. For the Jarl deck, I'm so excited for him and still going to get it because I love my chunky Guardians. But maybe the price is higher because they know how powerful Ice can be. So yeah, it's been a while since we've had Ice. Obviously, this is a slightly accentuated price point, and the Guardian Mastery Pack is right around the corner as well, so this could be the time to get your Guardian stuff.
Yeah, on my Twitter, I posted something that got a lot of comments, a lot of interesting comments, and basically it was just I would just said, I can go find it and read it, but the gist of it was like, what do people expect? So, like, given that the Jarl Armory deck is $60, what do people expect as a consumer from that? Like, what do you expect to get from a $60 pre-constructed product? Because I feel like there's a lot of this, I called it perceived power, but there's a lot of this preconceived notion that people are going into without even seeing the list that they expect it to be on a certain power level, right? Everyone's like, well, it's $60, so it should be this strong, even though we don't actually know how strong it is. So given that and given the price, I was very curious to see like what people would be willing to pay and what they expect to pay, and like what's the upper limit on this. And it's very interesting because I have a decent number of followers on Twitter, and they're not all from Flesh and Blood. In fact, there's a very good mix of people from a lot of across the TCG industry, and so I would go read that. There's some pretty interesting comments on there. Some people are like, I would never pay more than $30 for any pre-constructed deck ever. Doesn't matter what it is. And there are some people who are like, I would pay, I want to buy 2 of these, So I think there's this interesting gap between that, and perhaps just Flesh and Blood players in general are more willing to spend more money on their game than other people are. But
and this,
go ahead and read it. It's interesting.
Yeah. So that's on your Twitter, yeah.
That's on my Twitter. It's just at Red Zone Road. You have to scroll down because I post on Twitter often.
Yeah.
But it did get a decent amount of traction. Hold on, I also did a bunch of shit posting, so I have to find it. There we go.
Yeah, me both, bro.
It has 12,000 views, or like
nice.
But those 49 comments on there, and I recommend going to read. One interesting one is a guy named Fuzzy Paradox. He's a great dude. He's a prominent member of the Cardfight Vanguard community. He hosts and runs some really important websites called like VG Paradox. He's also known as like the pie chart guy. But he commented on it, and he's like, coming from Cardfight, I assume this would be the equivalent of a Stride deck set, which if it is, I think $60 for competitive deck right out of the box seems good. And then I responded, I think that might be what they're trying to go for, though we haven't seen the full deck list yet. And also to note, this likely does not come with sleeves or a deck box like the Stride sets do. So the Stride sets, if you don't know, for Cardfight Vanguard, are very similar. They're highly, highly competitive decks, actually like tier 1 competitive decks right from the box, specifically like Shiranui, if you know Vanguard. Luard and Shiranui are S tier competitive monsters. And what you do is you get your deck set, comes with I don't have a box with me. Actually I do have a box with me. Comes with a storage box like this. It's just kind of like a cardboard storage box, and it comes with a full set of sleeves with the character, and then it comes with a deck, and then you can get a fancier version of this where the whole deck is foil. It costs a little bit more money, but the entire deck is foil, and it comes with more stuff for like $100 something bucks. Normally the prices are close to like 50 or 60. So this more expensive Armory deck feels a little bit along those lines, except it doesn't actually come with the extra cool stuff. It doesn't come with the sleeves or the box or anything.
Yeah.
But kind of feels what they're going along with. So it's interesting. My point is interesting to see perspectives from other people outside of this particular community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is interesting, and that sort of rolls into one of the final questions I wanted to ask the audience and ourselves today, and that is, what have your buying habits became like for Flesh and Blood as of recently? So this is for audience.
Oh no.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question because you know, it can really differ depending on what you're trying to get out of this game. So audience and us, what have your buying habits become like for Flesh and Blood? Because I know at one point a lot of us in this podcast were just buying boxes every set or buying cases every set. I don't see a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm buying a case" anymore on the socials. I don't really see that happening. I think the transition now is just buying. The people that are buying cards are buying the cards for their decks that they want to play competitively, or the heroes that they play only. They're not buying cases anymore. I think that's mainly the singles, like stores and stuff, maybe, that are just buying that up. But yeah, I'll throw this out to you guys first with regards to what your buying habits have come like, and the audience as well. Leave a comment in the section below as to what you've been experiencing recently. But who wants to kick this off? What are your buying habits become like for this game so far?
Mine have basically boiled down to, if there's a card that I want for a deck that I intend to build, I will buy it. Otherwise, like, I really liked when I would just buy like cases and cases of cards. Yeah. It was really cool to be able to, get my own. It helped out a lot, specifically because buying cards from TCG Player as a Canadian, until extremely recently, and even now, it's not great. Until very recently, it has sucked to buy cards off of TCG Player as a Canadian. The import fees were so crazy. There would always be like at least $20 shipping on everything. And then if you are looking for a bunch of cards, but not one, not one individual storefront has all of those cards, then you're paying shipping on each one of those. Yeah. So it was just like super expensive to buy off TCG Player. There weren't very many websites that had like enough stock of singles for it to super be worth it. And then nobody locally was selling singles either. So buying cases was really fun for me, because then I got the cards that I needed. I could, search for the expensive ones to be like, oh, check out this pull that I got, which I love. I'm addicted to opening packs. It's bad. But then I could also be like the local store for the players and be like, hey, I got a bunch of extra copies of this. Anybody looking for these? I'll give you a good price. Like, it was really cool. But now with the amount of additional collectability, is what I'm going to call it, that they've sort of injected into these sets, it's harder to create like a master set like I did with the only one that I truly completed, I think, was Tales of Aria. Everfest, I was missing, I think, 2 copies of Knick Knack Bric-a-Brac extended art. But yeah, Tales of Aria, I was able to get one of every cool card, and I was really, really proud of that. I tried to do it for every subsequent set, but it just kind of became harder and harder. Yeah. So at this point, instead of buying, it's always the correct choice. Like, I know that buying like sealed product and ripping it just to try to pull cards is never the correct choice financially. It is significantly more fun, in my opinion, so that's why I did it. But it also has become less fun with the amount of variance as well. There are some cases now that don't even have a legendary in them, whereas with Welcome to Wraith, you could pretty reliably buy a case and get at least one legendary, and like, that's fine. But yeah, so I've gone to just buying singles. Buying cases is no longer on the menu for me.
Yeah. Basically what Bill said without all the Canadian stuff. Product and singles have always been pretty, well, not always. I started Flesh and Blood before even anyone knew what it was, like 10-20 days like after the Welcome to Wraith came out. And I bought alpha boxes off of eBay for like $60 or whatever at the time. But for me, I want to say around Bright Lights, Dusk Till Dawn is kind of really when I started to feel it. And it's the TLDR is that the opening packs for Flesh and Blood have not become as fun for me as they used to be. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Increasing, or rather decreasing, the pull rates of Majestics, making them a lot more difficult to pull in general, which means there's a lot more like what I would call like junk packs in Flesh and Blood, and a junk pack in Flesh and Blood would be 2 rares and a random foil. That's probably going to be a rare or a common.
Yeah.
And the fact that rares don't really mean anything in Flesh and Blood in terms of just like value or excitement really makes opening packs just not fun. And it also made, like Bill said, completing your sets and your collections much more difficult if you were just buying cases to do so. And for the longest time, I was able to buy like several cases and just be able to have like a minimum rarity master set of every single set. And I did that for every single set up to Dusk Till Dawn. I have a full play set, master set of every set up to there. Not all of the maximum rarities, but a lot of the times actually. And I would spend like a couple $1,000s, like $1,000 to $2,000 on like cases. And now I don't buy any at all. I don't buy any at all. And so the way I do it now is like Flesh and Blood has shifted for me from being a game that I want to build literally every single hero, which was very, very expensive, to like I'm just gonna pick the 1 or 2 that I enjoy, and I already have like this baked in collection. So I'm at the point where I just need to, hey, if you print something for my Uzuri deck, I'll buy 3 foil copies of that. Yeah. Just to upgrade my foil Uzuri deck, and that's kind of it. I have a pretty good like full foil Lexi, almost new, and an Uzuri. So it's like that's kind of where it is for me now. I didn't buy any Rosetta, and I bought even for Mistveil, I didn't buy a ton. I bought a little bit, but not very much, and that was like a set that I really, really enjoy. So I think it speaks a lot to it. So it boils down for me. It's just like the packs aren't as fun to open compared to a lot of other games that I play and open, and I don't feel like I get as much out of it as well. So yeah, there's not a lot of incentive for that. And to put that into comparatively speaking, without going too much into it, a lot of Japanese games, especially Bushiroad, and I think maybe Bandai games do this too. But like, so for like Vanguard, or I guess I could use Shadowverse because I'm really big into Shadowverse. If you buy a case of that, it's more boxes. It's 16 boxes. Cases are around $800 to $900. But if you buy a case, you will have a full play set of the entire set, period. Like, you don't have to worry about like, oh, am I going to get the Majestic, or I pull 1 of one Majestic and 7 of another one. You're just going to have a full set. It's pretty consistent. Like 3 to 5 copies of every single legendary card. Legendary would be the super rare equivalent. I remember the Majestic equivalent in Flesh and Blood. And then you'll also get like 3. You're basically guaranteed like 3 chase hits. You don't know what they are, but you're gonna get in Shadowverse. You'll get a leader card, which is worth $100-ish, and then 2 ultra rares with a chance of a little bit spicier, which are also worth several $100s each. So like you have this when you buy a case, you're like like I'm gonna get this in this case, and you can feel really comfortable with it, being like I'm gonna be able to build every deck that I want, and I also have some nice shiny chase cards. And in Flesh and Blood, you should just buy singles because there's no even if you want to build every single deck, you should just buy singles. Whereas in Shadowverse, if you want to build every single deck, a case isn't the worst way to go, and you'll also have a bunch of extra shiny stuff that you could possibly get some money back on. And that's true for some other games too. Or you just buy a single box, and then maybe you'll hit one of those, like where is she? I have a card that I got recently. It's like $230. Maybe you just get that one card off of the case, or off of a single box. But so yeah. Anyway, long-winded way of saying basically what Bill said. But yeah. So what about you guys?
I think I can probably name the singles I've bought this year. So Judge, Jury, Executioner. Well, I didn't even buy that. That was sent to me, so I didn't buy that. No, actually, no, I did buy it because I spoiled it, but then they didn't send me the package until. So basically, I spoiled it in. When did I spoil it? I spoiled it when I got back from Barcelona. So when was that? November? Was that November, Bill? It was, wasn't it? Last year. I think
so. Yeah, you got the information about it while we were in Barcelona. So yeah, November.
Yeah, so November time. So yeah, I spoiled it after that because I basically had free reign to spoil it because they said, "Oh, here's the card. It's a specialization expansion slot. But they didn't actually physically send me the card until after I had went to Hartford already. So I had to actually go to a vendor to buy the Judge, Jury, Executioner before I even got sent it by LSS. So I did actually buy that card in non-foil, just so I can put it in my deck. Then I also got the Heavy Hitters cards that were... oh, no, that was the Heavy Hitters card. Then I got the Murky Waters and Reelins. I got those from you, which were from part of the Miss Vale, I believe. Yep. Or was Reelin part of Heavy Hitters? I can't remember. But, yeah, so Murky Water and Reelin, you gave me those. So I bought those from you. Then Long Draw Half Glove, which was the Ranger Arms. So I got those in cold foil. From a local shop in the UK. Plan for the Worst, which is what we spoke about earlier, the Riptide card, or the Ranger card, which Azalea and Riptide can both play, but it's more of a Riptide thing. Got those. I also got a playset of the Weakest Links this year, just because it's a powerful generic 6 attack, which could, targets instants and other things, right? So, or things with no defense. Yep. So I picked up 3 of those, and then I got 3 Azalea Armory decks as well. 2 of which were sent to me by LSS, and then 1 that I bought. So yeah, actually no, 2 that I bought and 1 that was sent to me from LSS. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I've got this year. But that just factors into the hero thing, right? If you're attached to a hero, you don't really need to buy anything else because you're just all in on the hero or the character. So you don't feel like you need to buy anything else unless that set really speaks to you from an aesthetic point of view, or you might have played a draft or a sealed event which then made you think of, oh, okay, yeah, I like this hero, I like the way they play, and then I'll invest into them. But yeah, it's just a hero thing as well. Again, that's sort of I influencing my buying habits personally. For singles, I bought a playset of every foil Majestic Assassin card from Mistvale, and I also got 3 foil the card that you said the name I forgot already. Weakest Link. Weakest Link, yeah. So I bought a full 3 foils of that as well. So I bought like foils, and I was considering buying the Marvel versions of every single one of the Transcend cards. Yeah. But they were pretty expensive at the time, and I was like, nah, I don't care that much. I might. Well, maybe I'll look back and see if they've gone down in price, but that's the thing as well. I always get. I did buy the extended art cold foil Mask of Recurring Nightmares though, so I did kind of, and then I also have I was just lucky enough to open up a cold foil Marvel new, so I have that as well. So my deck is still like spicy. It's still like all cold foil or rainbow foil. So yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. Like when they start doing unique mechanics like transcending or wagering and all that sort of thing, it's like, do I really want to buy into this? Because are we ever going to see support for it ever again? That's the feeling I get from these from these talents and from these new things that they introduce. Do I want to buy into that? Because are they ever going to support it again? That's why I always love Azalea, because she's just a ranger. So every single ranger card that comes out, I can make a janky trap Azalea deck if I want to. It's probably not the best thing to do, but I can. I can do the Death Dealer aggro thing. I can do aim counters with Azalea. I can do anything with Azalea because she's just a ranger. It's the same with Riptide as well. Riptide's just a ranger. But it's the same reason why if there's an Earth Ranger that comes out, do I want to buy into that? I probably will, because I just like Rangers in general. But do you know what I mean? It's like, do I want to invest into this mechanic, which might not ever see any support, like wagering? Do I really want to get all the fancy wager stuff? Because are we ever going to see it again? That could also influence the decision. I guess it depends on how much you like the hero, right? Yeah. If you want to go all in on the hero and you really love the hero, then yeah, I guess you go for it. And if you don't, if you want to stay more, generic or open up, then don't. Yeah. So circles back round on a hero again, doesn't it? Really, but there we go. Yeah, it's a pretty important part of the game. I think, and I think it reflects a lot of the. I think it will reflect a lot of the buying purchases of like people commenting. So, interested to hear what people have to say about their purchasing
you know, habits of Flesh and Blood as of late.
Yeah.
Because I've also seen other YouTubers talk about, like, they put up videos that are like, oh, did Flesh and Blood collecting die? All this kind of stuff. Where have all the collectors gone? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just curious to hear what our audience has to say about it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below. But yeah, considering there was nothing going on this week, I think we've had a good run this week.
We did pretty good.
We did pretty well. Yeah. Another thing as well to mention is another sort of the clause for this on my sheet here is called the Blue Sky Rapture. Is what I've called it. So there has been a little movement going on the socials at the moment where a lot of people have created Blue Sky accounts or just reactivated their ones from that they created a while back. So a lot of people have, a lot of the Flesh and Blood people have found their way over there. So Flesh and Blood now have a Blue Sky account. Carol's on there, Brian's on there, a few other LSS people are on there. I can't remember their names, but there's quite a few people on there. So people that want to go over to Blue Sky, you can do. It's just a social platform that currently has like no ads or anything. But saying that, I don't know how long that's going to last, because obviously it's going to be if it's getting loads of traction, loads of sort of people going over there, it's only going to be a matter of time before the devs are like, yeah, let's monetize this. So it's only going to be a matter of time where we can live in this sort of utopia. But at the moment, it's all very, very positive over there. So I'd recommend going over there if you want to follow your sort of favourite Fab people. And all of our tags remain the same as well. So we're all on there. And in our sort of things down here, you can see that I've added a butterfly or something? Blue Sky?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
It is a butterfly, yeah. I've noticed Blue Sky is very artist and like VTuber friendly, because a lot of the stuff that gets buried on Twitter, there's a lot of just keywords on, people who know a lot about Twitter know that there's a lot of keywords on Twitter that if you write them in your post, that it just kind of buries your post and doesn't show it to as many people. And it really hurt artists and like VTubers the most. And so on Blue Sky, there's just so many artists. I just go to my feed and it's just all people I've never seen before that are artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice, like I said, like a lot of Flesh and Blood folks have gone over. So yeah. Like I like it just because of the artist friendliness and there's no ads, there's much fewer bots. But I've also found it much harder for me to gain traction on it than I did for Twitter. So I might have to personally, in terms of like my own business, kind of like adjust things.
Yeah. So a lot of people have the same thing though. A lot of people that are actually they've set up shop on things. That's what someone said on Twitter the other day. They've set up shop on there. That's where people know where they are and all that sort of thing. And it makes sense from that sort of perspective. But there isn't really any downside to creating one. If Twitter implodes, then you can go there, I guess. But
yeah, I think if you're like already established and you have a good following on Twitter, I'm doing both anyway. But it's like definitely different. Like for me, I use Twitter basically as a way to I do shitpost a little bit. But I also use it as a way to like network a lot. And so like, for example, like the CEO of Bushiroad International follows me. Hell, even not Junjito, Yoko Taro follows me on Twitter. And so like I have like this built-in following, and like just starting from scratch, I'm just like, I like card games and like anime and manga and stuff. So please follow me. Please follow me.
That's a funny thing, isn't it? It's like for everyone that's already on Twitter, are you going to make new connections through Blue Sky? I don't know, because the people
maybe, yeah.
So, but Twitter for me has only been positive for its application. Like I've been able to meet a lot of people on there. I think that's where I first started talking to you two actually, to a certain degree, through DMs on there. So yeah, in the early days when we all first started on there, I created my account just for Flesh and Blood. Go Again Gaming AZ was my handle. I think a lot of people did the same back then. They created a Twitter account just because that's where the community was. So if it all shifts over there, I imagine we'll sort of all liaise over there. But I just thought it was a funny thing to happen. You know, I just thought it would be worth commenting on, and the fact it's all positive right now. Yeah, just thought it would be worth mentioning because yeah, we've all got accounts over there now as well. But we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, Blue Sky's an interesting one. I think if you're into, I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so I assume you are. I think if you're into Flesh and Blood and you want a social media platform, I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Because
I have noticed between all of the games and everything that I cover, Flesh and Blood is the one group that I've noticed have just immediately adopted Blue Sky like very quickly, as opposed to these other communities that I'm in, like Grand Archive and Shadowverse and all that, Carthay Vanguard. It's taking a little bit more time for folks to kind of like transition over. So if you're into Flesh and Blood and you want Flesh and Blood stuff, then I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah. And I saw a comment from I think it was a Brazilian community, because Twitter just got removed from Brazil for whatever reason that was.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Twitter sucks. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so the Brazilians have been on there for ages and they've been loving it. So it's just one of those things. Just like, why the fuck do you not have it and we do? It's just like, it's just a bit silly, really, isn't it? But yeah, it's positive stuff coming out of there. So definitely go and check us out on those. But that's pretty much the episode. Just thought I'd mention that on the end. Yeah, we can do the rounds again, and obviously point them in the direction of that. So yeah, so I've been the host for today. My name's Az from Go Again Gaming. You can find me on the socials down here, Go Again Gaming AZ, same everywhere. But that's another reason why people created accounts, because they wanted their tag to remain the same, just in case, so nobody else could claim it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I
claim Red Zone very quickly.
When I started seeing people like transition en masse because of some other stuff that Twitter was doing, like getting rid of, I don't talk about it. But anyway, I was just like, oh shit, I gotta go make sure I have my username. I don't think people would take it, but just in case, I want to be consistent across all of the platforms. So I got it. Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been Go Again Gaming, and then on YouTube as well, Go Again Gaming on there, and I'm going to be doing a lot of Japan content over the next week. So I'm wrapping up the League That Means Nothing this week, so semi-finals and finals are coming out. I've also got another Warhammer video coming out on the weekend as well, so Age of Sigmar fans, just documenting my discovery and experience of that game still. And then, a lot of Japan stuff coming out next week and the week after that, I imagine. But I'm going to try and release it in real time as I'm out there. And, of course, we'll be recording the podcast. It'll be Wednesday morning, so I'll be having a nice cup of coffee in Osaka with you guys.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah. And then, we got Bill as well. How's it going? And what? How's it going? I'm starting to...
You know what? It's going pretty good.
Nice. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders and from the Living Legends podcast. You can find me on Twitter, as long as that's still around, at BillTSF. Yeah. I do have a slightly different tag for Blue Sky, because if you have a domain, you can change it from, like, people will have like their username .bsky.social. If you have your own domain, you can change that last part. So I'm actually bill.spikefeeders.com.
Oh, really?
Oh, so, I should change mine.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't quite know. I don't remember what the process is, because I got my account like a year, maybe 2 years ago, and I set it up then and have not touched it until basically this exodus, as you've described it. So I think there are tutorials if you do have a domain name that you'd like to change your Blue Sky name to. But yeah, you should go follow me on there. I have the same as Twitter. I'm not like super active, but I have been posting some stuff just as things like kind of pop into my head. So I don't know, maybe it's a fresh start, because things are just a little bit nicer. Blue Sky just feels a little bit nicer, all things considered. So
yeah, there's a lot of Magic people on there as well, right? I think. Yeah. So because your brother follows me back, I think, Jim.
Yeah, basically everybody that I follow on Twitter has made a Blue Sky at this point. it's kind of just the same. There just isn't a weird algorithm that keeps shoving things into my face that I don't want to see. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good thing about starting again anywhere, I guess, is that you can create your content again because you're following the right people. You're making sure that everything is curated to how you want to see things. So I guess that's definitely a pro to starting anything again, is that you know what you want from the off. Yeah, it makes sense. And then Cal,
definitely.
Hello. My Blue Sky is currently the, at what is it? At redzonerogue. The Blue Sky stuff.
Yeah.
.bsky.social, but I, obviously I have my own website, so maybe I'll just change it to redzonerogue at redzonerogue.com. I suppose. So we'll see if I could.
Oh yeah.
If I can change that at some point. I was looking at my account. I've only actually had the account for 5 days, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And you can find me everywhere. Like I said, everywhere at Red Zone Rogue. YouTube, Twitter, now Blue Sky. I still occasionally post on Instagram and Facebook, but not all that much. If you like trading card games, hey, come check out my channel. I have some big, general news happening at the end of the month.
Nice.
Because I'm going to be changing up some stuff, and generally speaking, I want to at least cover every major game once on the channel. So I'm going to be going through a series of features to cover the last remaining games I haven't actually talked about on Red Zone Rogue, which is One Piece, Lorcana. There's a couple other ones. There's maybe 5 games that I haven't actually covered. I do have some of the One Piece stuff here. Look, here's Mr. Monkey here. Just kind of get my thoughts on the games that are currently out in the industry. And there's some other ones, I mostly focus on Shadowverse, Grand Archive, and a handful of others Vanguard. But there's some upcoming ones that are interesting as well. So
nice.
if you like TCGs, go ahead and check that out. And I'll be posting more about that. I post 3 to 4 videos a week. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Fantastic.
Star Wars. My buddy Dan from Main Deck's gonna send me some Star Wars decks, and we're gonna do a stream, and he's gonna teach me how to play the Star Wars game, and I'll give my opinion on it. I kind of already know how to play, but yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And same with Lorcana. I don't know if I made it in, but Lorcana starter decks were 2 for $15 on TCG Player, and I was like, sure, yeah. $15. I'll buy a couple, and maybe I'll do a stream how to play stream or something. So
when I was when I was at my mate's, that's another thing. I dropped a video this week. It was my mate opens a game store, was a little video. But towards the end of it, the interview with him basically froze. So I might have to re-release it because I edited it off of my phone. So I was using Adobe Premiere Rush on my phone. I don't think it exported properly. But luckily the first part of it did. And where I was going with this is that he was saying one of the questions I was like, which games do you recommend for people getting into just games in general? And one of the ones that he mentioned was Altered, which was quite cool. Quite useful.
Altered's very good.
Yeah.
So
that was a game that I nearly bought when I was there just to sort of see what it was like. But he mentioned that one was quite cool. That's a new one, isn't it? I think fairly new.
Yep. Altered came out in the last couple months or so. Was founded on Kickstarter. Very successful. It's made by Equinox, which is a French dev studio. One of the lead designers is the same guy who made a bunch of board games that you may be familiar with, like Dixit and a couple other ones. It's a very lovely game, and I've mentioned it before, but I think it's really good for people who are not. Well, I mean, it could be good for people who are enfranchised TCG players, but it doesn't have a lot of normal TCG mechanics, which I think is really cool. And I think it can appeal to a much wider audience. It's had overall very positive vibe, the setting and the vibe is positive.
Colorful and that, yeah.
From my experience, Robin, my partner, has play tested almost as many games as I have because I usually drag her into it. She play tested Flesh and Blood with me back when the game first came out, so I can get a good grasp on it. And she told me that Altered is her favorite one that we've played so far. So take that for what you will. She really liked it, and she's not a TCG player other than me roping her into it. She's more of a board game style player if we play tabletop at all. So
Yeah.
Altered's good. The videos I did on it have done very well. I didn't expect them. There's multiple ones that did over 10,000 views, which is not too bad. So there's definitely a market for it.
Yeah. TCG's a hot talk. But any other Arsenal step stuff before we wrap up today? I haven't got really much going on apart from prepping to go away somewhere. I guess Bill has as well. But any other Arsenal stuff? Games, TV shows, nothing?
My birthday was 2 days ago, and for it, my partner bought me Metaphor ReFantasio, and it is like really good. It's like insanely good. And if you don't know what it is a video game made by Atlas, specifically the team that made Persona. And it is very much like Persona in a lot of ways, and very much not like Persona in a lot of ways. Without spoiling it too much, think about the Persona game system, sort of, but set in a brand new fantasy setting. So it's not the high schoolers, it's a brand new fantasy setting. And it plays a lot with the tropes. The writing so far is really good. The voice acting, I'm playing it in English voice acting, is insanely good. It's Atlas, and the voice acting is like exceptional. And it's one of those games. So this is not a spoiler, but this will help set you up for the vibe of this. So the world that it takes place in is what we would call a fantasy world, right? There's like monsters, and there's swords and magic, and it's a fantasy world. However, the main character, he has this book with him, like the player character, and the book is what they call a fantasy book. And inside the book, it describes our world, like the modern world, with like cars and skyscrapers and that kind of stuff. And that's, to them, is what they call fantasy. And it's like playing with this inversion of these tropes. This is not a spoiler. It literally is in the opening cutscene. So it's in the opening cutscene. So it's not a spoiler at all. So it's really interesting, and the writing is cool, and it has the Atlas writing where they deal with heavy shit, like all of the Atlas. Like if you play Persona 5, like they deal with like heavy stuff, and there's like a lot of like, I don't want to go too much into it, but it's very good. I would highly recommend it if you like turn-based RPGs. If you like good writing, if you like Atlas in general, if you like Persona, I can't recommend it enough. I'm enjoying it as much as when I first played through Persona 5. And that's pretty high praise for me, because I really love Persona 5. So, yep, it's good. I've been no-lifing it. Robin also went away on a work trip, so it's just been me and the dog. It's been just us for a little while, so I played like 10 hours of it in the last like day, day or two. So
nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a slow burn, though. I can tell like it took like 6 to 8 hours to like finally get a lot of the Persona-y mechanics in place. And I'm like barely through like the first real dungeon. And so this is gonna be like a 90-hour game, like for sure. Like it's gonna be a Persona 5 level game. So recommend that. Metaphor ReFantasio. Check it out. Nice. It's weird and great.
Anything going on, Bill, before we wrap up?
I watched a show recently on Amazon Prime called Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like... It's a very interesting show. It's a very it's done in two distinct visual styles. The main visual style, at least at the beginning, is as a sitcom, like a traditional, like Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens style sitcom, where there's the bumbling oaf of a husband and everybody, like his entourage of people around him. But there's the second sort of half of it is showing life from the wife's perspective and how she's like slowly starting to lose her sanity because her husband never does anything right but keeps getting rewarded like for everything that he does. And it just sort of like builds on that. And like whenever it's the sitcom, it's like there's a laugh track. It's really weirdly lighted or weirdly lit. And everybody has this like quippy quippy one-liner dialogue sort of thing, but then it switches to the dramatic side of things, and it's like, oh, damn.
Does it have the same kind of vibe of? Have you seen those videos where it's like Friends, but they remove the laugh tracks?
Yeah.
And everyone just sounds like a psychopath. They just sound insane because they like pause for the laugh tracks, and so it just makes everything they say sound like threatening.
It's kind of weird because as it grows, like as the show goes on, there's 2 seasons. As it sort of evolves, whenever it's in the like sitcom universe, you start to just get stressed because you notice like the things that he's doing that are just objectively like manipulative and weird are like getting a laugh from the audience, and everybody around him's just kind of rolling their eyes and going, "Oh, you!" But then like as soon as it like ends, as soon as it goes back to the dramatic thing, you start to see like the fallout of how people are truly reacting to it instead of them putting on this like face and like, you know, performing for the audience and kind of thing. It's a really cool show. I liked it a lot, actually. Just very different. It's relatively recent. It's from like 2022, I think. And
how long is it?
Yeah, it's 2 seasons of 8 episodes that are about 45 minutes each. So
okay, that's not too bad.
yeah. It's I think we watched it, me and my girlfriend watched it in about a month, and that's with like we weren't watching it every day. In fact, the second season, if you have Amazon Prime, you have to subscribe to AMC Plus to get the second season for some reason. So I did a 1 month free trial, and it was about to expire, and I was like, okay, we need to finish this. So we had to watch 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody else has seen it, feel free to give your thoughts down in the comments below as well. And if that sounds interesting to somebody, you should go check it out. It's a really cool show, very thought provoking, and I thought it was really well done. So, hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, one last thing for me. I do want to download the new Silent Hill 2 remake. So one of my favourite horror games ever is Silent Hill. Just love the aesthetic, love the dreamlike sort of different dimensions, and all that. Love that sort of stuff. Yeah. Actually rewatched the 2006 film yesterday.
Oh no!
And I remembered I shouldn't have probably watched that, but.
Certainly a thing.
Yeah, it's certainly a thing. But I had to revisit it.
Hey, I think it's better than the Resident Evil movies, to be
100%.
honest. So there's that. Yeah. And I love Resident Evil. So a little bit of a confession here. I've never played Silent Hill 2. It's like one of the only like all-time classic horror games I've never actually played. Yeah. And so I'm actually really looking forward to buying the remake. One of my favorite YouTubers is doing a series on it, Northern Line, and I've been specifically not watching them because I really want to play it. And I plan on buying it since Robin's going to be gone for a few weeks. I'm probably going to buy it, and she's going to be gone over Halloween. I'm probably going to buy it around Halloween, and that'll be what I do on Halloween. Probably just going to we have a thing set up, so I'm just going to put out a cauldron full of candy, and kids can just take what they want. Nice. We're one of those houses. We're a house that's just like, take what you want. We put a little sign on it.
Nice.
So you can take a handful or whatever. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing Silent Hill 2. I hear it's really good. I hear the remake is really good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to download that because that was one of my favorite games, and I just watching the film again. There's a lot of music from the original game that was used in that film, and it's just like, I love the music of this as well. So I've been listening to the Silent Hill OST soundtrack on Spotify a lot as well, because it's just very, very sort of like a lot of piano in it, very, very ambient, but also dreamlike, and also very like creepy as well. Like it's a Japanese composer. Can't remember the name, but yeah, very, 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 very good. Very good music as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because the original Silent Hill 2 is so like old and well known that I know the story. It's not going to surprise me. I know the twist ending. I know what happens. So I'll be very curious to see if the remake follows the same kind of trajectory. And there's another game that recently got a remake as well. That's one of my favorites actually. It's called Until Dawn, which is kind of like this narrative horror game that really plays on a lot of horror tropes, and I really, really loved the original release of Until Dawn. I have a 100% completed the game. Like I've got the platinum trophy, and so I got a new remake. The graphics look better, and I heard they have different endings. I heard the game has a couple different endings, which is why I'm kind of tying this to Silent Hill 2, because I don't know if they changed anything with Silent Hill 2. I don't know if there's new endings or anything, but I know that Until Dawn has new endings. So I kind of want to download that and play that too, even though I already own the original Until Dawn. It's not that different. So
yeah, another good one.
You just be dropping like $150 in horror games because that shit's like expensive these days. Man, modern games are expensive. They're like the price of a Jarl Armory deck.
Literally, yeah.
They are. I think Silent Hill 2 is like $70.
Yar.
Yeah.
Yar.
Yeah.
Anyway, before this turns into video game and pop culture podcast, that's pretty much it for this week. Thanks very much for everybody tuning in, and we will do it all over again next week. And I'll be live from Osaka next week, so that's going to be fun. So it's going to roll around quicker than these Living Legends podcasts. They roll around quicker every week. They seem to get quicker and quicker, so that's good for me, because that means I'm probably going to be suffering from extreme jet lag, but we'll see how it goes. Strong Zero will get me there.
Power through it.
Yeah,
power through it, man. My suggestions, what I do is just whenever you arrive, try to go to bed at whatever the normal time would be, right?
Yeah.
So even if you're like super tired, try to just power through and go to bed at a normal time, and that really helps set you up for a normal kind of thing. It's easier said than done, obviously, but
yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully it's not too bad for you, and you can enjoy Japan to the fullest. Maybe it's just like one day of jet lag or something.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be drinking anyway, so I won't notice it. Anyway, but yeah, so we'll see you still over again next week, and until then, stay safe, have a good one, and we'll see you on the flip side. Cheers, folks. And goodbye.
See you around, y'all.
Bye. Bye.
Every time we have nothing to speak about, it just longs out, which is great.
Ramble. I think mentally I'm like, all right, I need to fill in a little bit, like to talk a little bit more than normal, and then it just ends up being too long.
And then we end up speaking about Katsu 15 minutes. Like, what's going on?
That's true. Didn't plan on that shit. Well, that's because that's recording the base of the webcam because it's set to top-down mode. Hello. Set to top-down mode. So let me fix that.
Oh, okay.
Because I haven't used the webcam since I hosted the Grand Archive starter deck event on Friday, Saturday. It's on Saturday.
Nice.
I had it for top-down mode for that. So here it goes.
I saw that popping off. There's like 10 rooms of people playing in there, wasn't there?
Oof. Yep, they do pretty well. That's my third one that we've hosted. I have a pretty good relationship with the Weebs of the Shore team, so I get official prize support. And then my buddy Dan from Main Deck, which is another YouTuber, he actually also supplied some prize support. And so
nice.
Yeah, it's a good time. I really love hosting those events because they're the kind of events that I would like to see for other games, and it's I do what I would like to see. And so I think I've given you guys the spiel before, but it's like participation prizing, wins don't matter at all. In fact, everyone just has an hour per round to play as much as you want, and you can play whatever starter deck you want. So you can swap if you want. It's very chill. So people really enjoy them, and they all get, prizes and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, doing good.
I'm pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, as it looks like you're in a sort of a more solid
location.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah. Like instead of just like chilling on your couch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically
I would describe it as more fishy, right?
Yeah, so it got a bit of an aquatic background over here. So I've got some Blade Runner ambient noises and textures in the background there. That's what you can see on the screen.
Sick.
But yeah, it's all good. So I'm recording from the same room as before, but now all the skirting boards are down, so it's not as cold in here. Because
Nice.
yeah, so I'm still in my parents' house at the moment, and the front room that we have, essentially, we got like a lounge and then our own room here. The skirting boards weren't down, so there was a draft coming in, so we needed to get that sorted before the winter rolled in, basically. So yeah, but that's all sorted now. So, and I rearranged things in here a little bit. So
That's got to be a relief to not just be shivering the whole time.
that's right, yeah. Although I did experience, I have discovered the bliss of what an electric blanket can do for you. Those are quite nice. Yeah. But
Nice.
yeah, good stuff.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with. I've purposely tuned down my Bristly Bill deck to play with my regular play group, but since I'm going to be in Vegas and playing against a bunch of random people, I value their enjoyment much less than my actual play group. So I have a list of cards to add back to my Bristly Bill deck that I cut for being way too strong. So got to do some work on that, and then I haven't even packed or anything yet. So it'll be fun.
I understand that Commander is like a fucking weird ass fucking format.
Oh, yeah.
Because like there's all this social contract shit that goes into it without even starting. Because I remember going to the professor's place playing Commander for the first time, and I brought one of my favorite decks, Yawgmoth, and immediately got ganged up on and killed, like immediately, because I'm like, I play Grave Pact, and everyone's like, fucking kill him, and I'm like, what? It was just Grave Pact. I've played this card since like high school, but yeah, people don't like Grave Pact effects.
Yeah.
And that deck's, it's Yawgmoth, so it's all about like getting things, sacking them, getting all this, proliferation and stuff. And I guess people didn't like that, so
Especially if
I did not bring that deck again.
Yeah. Especially if they're attached to their creatures, that actually used to be me playing back in the day. Commander, I used to just big creature decks, and anything that said every time you do this, sack a creature, I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake, I hate this game. You're gonna die.
The unspoken rule. Maybe it's not unspoken. I'm sure a lot of YouTubers have talked about it or whatever, but it's like you're there to. It's okay to try to win as long as it falls within these parameters of what other people deem as fun. And if it's not in those parameters, well, fuck you. You're the problem. Die.
Yeah.
So
right now,
I've kind of figured out a little bit. Yeah.
Right now, the biggest consideration with my current play group is it's okay to win as long as you're like, I don't know, this is a pretty nebulous term, but as long as it's like fair, right? Like we don't use a bunch of tutors to search for specific infinite combos, especially ones that are like hard to interact with. Like I've tuned down Bristly Bill to the point that it's like my game plan is to make like 6 or 7 dudes that are unfathomably large, and I'm going to attack you with them. They might have trample sometimes, but not all the time. And if you can't deal with that, then I deserved to win, like it's just guys.
Yeah.
I have I have like, I don't know, like 12 Commander decks, and most of them are pretty well tuned and pretty sweet in my personal evaluation, but there's some that I know people will have a better reception of than others. Like I have a mono blue deck, and you can think of it as like mono blue Tron more or less. And if I make my Commander the reality chip, people are like, okay, cool. If I make my Commander Urza, who is also in the deck, people are like, no, kill you. You can't play Urza.
No.
And I'm like, it's the same deck. It's just changing the Commander.
That's fine.
It is actually the same deck.
It's a big dumb blue, I have a lot of like mana ramp and stuff, and I want to play Blightsteel Colossus and, Eldrazi and shit.
Who doesn't?
But, yeah. It's the deck I put all my expensive moxes and stuff that are legal in Commander in.
Hell yeah.
I still have to update that. I have to take out like Mana Crypt or whatever. I have to remove some shit from that. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's why I would probably enjoy Canadian Highlander, because it's just like
Pointed.
kill your opponent, and it doesn't matter how you do it. You just do it.
Yeah. Nice.
Anyway,
Well, when's that then, Bill? Is that next week, is it, or something?
this weekend,
I
isn't it?
leave. Yeah, I leave on Thursday. So yeah, I'll be back in time for the next LL pod. But yeah, I'm leaving in 2 days. I should be there 2 days from now, and then I'm there until Monday night. We leave like relatively late on the Monday. It's like 7:30 or something, and then I get back just after midnight on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm excited for it. The last time I went to Vegas, it was in August, and it was like, I want to say it was like 45 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've been. I've been to Vegas and described it as like being cooked alive by the pavement.
Yeah, it was like 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just too much for me.
It's just outrageous, isn't it?
It's like when we were casting in Vegas for Flesh and Blood. I was casting with DR Marmada, and we were walking with Jim from our hotel to the convention center, which is literally just across the street. And we were dressed in our casting gear, and as we progressed, more and more of our clothing started to come off as we started to get there, because it was so damn hot.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was insane. We're like, yeah, we're just gonna go, wear our casting attire and a backpack, and it's like, start walking, and I'm like, nope, blazer comes off. No, button up shirt comes off. We're just gonna go, short sleeve shirt on, put everything back on when we get in.
The other thing that just sucks so much is when you look at the maps of Vegas, it looks like things are walking distance, because you're like, oh, this is one block. Their blocks are the size of a casino. So it's like, oh, like I walked from, I was staying at I think the Hard Rock, and my brother was staying at, I forget which, but it was only like you look at the map and it's like 2 blocks away. We're like, okay, cool. We'll just walk and we'll meet you there. It was a 35-minute walk.
Yeah.
No shade.
Yeah, I will say, unless you're like on the strip, I would not recommend walking anywhere, because there's also the other thing where like, oh, it looks pretty close. It's just right over there. And you don't realize, like, to actually cross the street, you have to do some weird convoluted shit so you get to a crosswalk and cross like the 8-lane street that you have to do to get over there. So it's like, it's not very walkable. It's like a lot of the U.S., to be honest. The United States is not a very walkable country unless you're like downtown New York, and even then, that's, you're putting yourself at other risks, I guess.
Hey, I walked from Brooklyn across the Brooklyn Bridge and all the way up to bloody. I did a load of walking when I was in New York. It was good fun. I like getting. I like getting lost in places.
I mean, for like maybe the first time or something, but when I lived in California, I took public transit to work, so I walked a lot, and I would not recommend. I would not recommend it as an everyday thing. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Yeah. A lot of people take like BART. There's a Bay Area transit system. It's like a monorail. Anyway.
Nice. Well,
Vegas is I'm kind of over Vegas, to be honest. I've been there so many times. I'm just like, I wasn't even into the gambling kind of stuff to begin with, and then you tack on going there for like 4 times on a lot of the luster, or even more than that. It's like, yeah, unless you like are there with friends and specifically there to get like wasted or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm always there for like work. I'm always there to like put on a show, so I don't get a party or anything. I leave like the day after, so.
Yeah. Like we're getting there, I think, relatively. I don't remember when we're landing on Thursday, but like in time to meet up for dinner with somebody. And then we're there for the full day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then, apparently we're there for like most of the day Monday too, which nothing's happening. There's no convention on the Monday, so we're just gonna like, I suppose, hang out, try to find something to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Vegas. You can probably find something.
Yeah. Whether or not I actually like want to do it is the other thing.
Yeah.
Just hang out somewhere cool with drinks or something.
My fallback, and I've never done this in Vegas, but I have done this in other cities like Orlando and San Jose and stuff, is try to find like a cool like barcade or something like that. We have been able to find them at other places, and that's kind of like my fallback, right? Is like we have an extra bit of time, wants to go to the barcade.
Yeah, if you're in a foreign location, it's always nice to establish, oh, this is a nice place that we can just go to that's near our room or whatever. It's always nice to have that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, here's just like a thing.
Yeah.
A thing that we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sure you'll have a good time, Bill.